In a world where everyone is looking for your money up front, doesn't it just make sense to check out a podcast that's looking to give you something for free? Like the music for your content and free music for your film and videos? Look no further. It's the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. Welcome back to the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and it is episode 29 today. 29. And I've entitled this one for so many different reasons. Be at peace. Be at peace. For any of my listeners that are in the United States, it is the day after Election Day 2024. And there's all sorts of emotions going on in our country right now. And I just want to be clear and open that, look, we're fine. Everything's going to be fine. Regardless of which way you wanted the election to go, if you're happy and ecstatic, if you're miserable and furious, look, the world's going to keep spinning. We're all going to be here. Everything's going to be fine. Okay? I know it's a struggle and a challenge because of some of the positions that various sides take in different things, and I'm being dodgy because I don't typically like to talk about politics and anything public. In fact, on my socials and everything, I don't jump into that for the simple fact that it's very divisive, and it's clear the last 25 years in our country it's been extremely divisive, and this election was very close, as was numerous other elections in the last decade, 2.5 decades. And it's clear that there's a divide in our country, and there's a divergence between one school of thought and another school of thought. And it's really time for the political environment to step up and find some middle of the road compromise for all of us to coexist around, instead of this just teaming up and on one another. Honestly, I embrace the idea of having opposing viewpoints. It makes me be more authentic about who I am. I actually am a moderate. I tend to be the person going down the middle of the aisle, sometimes shaking hands on the right, sometimes shaking hands on the left. Always listening to both sides of the equation. And I think more of us should do that. These extremes are just going to create this ping pong effect in our political system for years to come. And I think it's time for us to really find a way to work together. So that's my 2 cents. I just hope that people that are excited, understanding that almost half the country isn't. And then the side that isn't happy, understand that, you got some work to do. You got some work to talk to your legislators and your senators and your representatives and even your executive branch here, your president and stuff, to tell them what you really want out of this country. I think instead of getting upset and angry, it's ultimately a call to action for people to get involved. And I think for a long time, we haven't been involved as a nation. We just kind of listen to what some political person says on the news and take that at face value. So take that for what it is. And I hope everybody's happy going forward, regardless of that. And if you're not, well, find a path for the next 4 years in which you can find happiness and not be miserable for it. That's no way to live. So that's my 2 cents. So off of the political stuff, onwards and upwards. Progresses. So got the jazz album out, Modern Jazz, that dropped on the 5th. It actually dropped on Election Day. And I've got Happy Holidays coming up. That's coming out on the 11th. There's a sneak peek of it available on SoundCloud and on Pixabay, depending upon where you get my stuff currently. And I have another sneak attack meditation album coming out called The Erudite, and that'll be dropping on the 15th. There's 7 tracks there. A couple really long ones, too. Ideal for, I don't know, a channel that does 10 to 20 minute meditations or Reiki. Pointing at you, Olivia, over at Via Frequency. Yes, there was a couple of tunes on there specifically that I wrote so that her channel could use it. And she liked them a lot. In fact, there's a video that was dropped today. Today would be November 6th. That incorporates one of my tunes called Time, which is really fun. Very, very airy, very, very meditative. Very meditative. So check it out if you can. I'll try to put the link in the show notes here for you. And yeah, so that's what's coming out so far. And I did a review today. I hadn't done some major walking exercise or anything in a while. So with all this lead up to Tuesday and, all the tension in the air and everything, I really felt this like need to go out and take a walk. And I never just relax. I'm always doing something when I'm moving around. So I took a bunch of works in progress, threw them on a Google Drive in a folder, and went out with my earbuds and my iPhone and listened to 43 tunes. So I've got 43 other songs in the pipeline, in addition to this 7-song album that just dropped, which incidentally puts me at 693 tunes published. So if all 43 of those songs can be published before the end of the year, that'll put me well above my goal. Would put me at 733. But I also have other things. It doesn't include about 10 to 25 ideas surrounding dreamcore and D&D spaghetti western. I'm doing some ideation for a podcast, not a podcast, it's a channel on YouTube called Dork Tales, and trying to get some music together and ideas for Kelly over there so that he can use them in the campaigns that he's doing. And he's got a crazy amount of campaigning that he does on his channel. It's really, to be honest, it's so much. I can't, it just boggles my mind that he can keep all the campaigns together. He goes from, like a sci-fi Western thing to traditional D&D, and runs multiple campaigns with all the different characters and everything. As a DM, I've caught a couple of his episodes. I typically I'll scrub through to get the gist of that episode of the campaign and stuff. But like he is one hell of a storyteller. So if you've never checked out his channel, you should check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes for him as well. But it's been exciting because when you sit in the studio and you're coming up with ideas, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's time to do another, orchestral album, or it's time to do some glitch or some dreamcore or whatever. It always is better and more fun to tie that to something that's like an active project. But it also gives me a little bit of leeway because I'm creating ideas and I'm kind of pitching them to the folks that would use them. And if they don't use them all, that's fine. But if they're excited about even a couple of them, that gets me real stoked, because it means, okay, it's already on their radar. So once I drop this album, or even if I give them like an early version of a song or something, they're going to use it. And that's great, because that's the whole point of why I'm doing this. I want people to use it. So it's very exciting. So I'm going to be doing more and more of that, and very interested in some of my other folks to reach out and let me know. Crematorium, I'd definitely like to hear from you to see if there's anything that you need for your podcast, because honestly, I can write horror all day long. So if you need something scary or some kind of spooky bed, I'm all ears. So with that said, many people have asked me, are you going to rest anytime soon? And the short answer is maybe after 1/1/25, because I still have some momentum and some energy. I'm feeling like, all right, let's get as far into the 700s as possible, because if I can do that, it stands to reason that next year I may actually be able to break 1,000 published tunes, which would be killer. It would be killer. It'd be one hell of an accomplishment. It's looking like somewhere between 700 and 750 right now by the end of the year. And it'd be a great start for 2024, if I can pull it off. So I might need some encouragement. So any of you guys out there that are listening to this or know me, and you see this on my Patreon or on any of my socials, give me a good shot in the arm or a good kick in the butt. Either will probably motivate me in the right direction. Some other updates, some other styles I'm thinking about doing. So most people know me for you know, the orchestral stuff, the D&D, the electronic, definitely. Various styles of electronic. I kind of like the glitch thing. It's very experimental and it's fun. But clubby stuff, meditation, you know, I do that. But I'm going to delve into some other places as well. For one, I've been putting this off for a little bit, but polka. I'm actually going to try and do at least a couple polka, like enough for an album or an EP, like 5 or 6 maybe. They don't have to be super long. It's inspired by the stuff that Kevin MacLeod's done in the past. And, you know, I'll have some eyes and ears on it, probably by him. So I've got to do it well. I mean, I don't have to. I could butcher it and he could just, you know, lambaste me for it. But I don't want to do that. I want to do a good iteration, because I've never tried it before. I've never tried the style. And usually that's how I get into things like lo-fi and dreamcore. Like, I've got another dreamcore album on the horizon because I liked doing that so much. It's very trippy and dreamy and almost meditative and almost lo-fi. Like, lo-fi and that could easily get kind of blended a little bit, especially the ones that have beats in it and stuff. But I've also got on the horizon a Middle Eastern album I want to finish up. I already have like 3 or 4 ideas in that 43 song number I gave earlier, as well as a hung drum or hang drum album, depending upon how you pronounce it. And I may actually use a real one because I bought one off Temu and I didn't expect, here's the crazy thing. I didn't expect the thing to show up because I'm like, it's Temu. You know, some of this stuff is real garbage. Maybe it'll show up and it's like, I don't know, 8 inches wide or whatever. No, it took a month, but for like $160, I got a full-size hang drum, and the thing sounds gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's in like D sharp or D, yeah, it was like D sharp or something, and it's got a nice tone to it. So I'll probably be using that. That's one of the first real, and like, not real, but you know, like my VSTs are real, but they're sampled instruments. But the first physical, like, mic'd thing I've done in a long time, which will be really fun. I'm going to do some harp music coming up down the road. Ska. That probably won't be till next year, because I really have to listen to that style to get into it. It's literally like for a couple weeks, I have to just kind of groove on a style to get a feel for, like, how the notes have to be articulated, what instrumentation needs to be there. So somewhere down the road next year, I'm gonna do that. Definitely doing at least 1 or 2 more metal albums. Island music. I mean, I do live in Florida, so you know that kind of stuff is great. Not, you know, wasting away Margaritaville shit, but like, you know, true island music that's just instrumentalized and just fun. Stings, intros, and podcast beds. Now, this is where I'm gonna reach out and ask what you guys need for that as well, because I want to do orchestral cues and stings, because I just haven't done a compilation of that, and also like genre show or movie, orchestral cues and stings, like comedic, horror, that kind of thing, like things that could be used across the board in many different places. So I'm excited to do that because I feel like sometimes it's laborious for creators to have to scrub through tunes and find those spots when I could just make a 20 or 30 piece compilation and identify them very simply, like, sudden attack cue, blah, 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 scene entry cue, blah, very unique and direct naming for things. Also, I'm looking to do some sports themes, comedy, long form and short form again, multiple compilations, industrial. Haven't touched that in a while, and I was a huge Nine Inch Nails fan back in the day. Synthwave, I want to revisit that with a combination of that and retro 80s again, because they're just so much fun. That's when I got my first keyboards when I was 10, 12 years old. It was the mid 80s. And I mean, that's what I remember doing. That's how I learned everything. And maybe, just maybe next year, there might be an album with vocals on it. No instrumental, like an actual vocal? Yes, very possible. I've been thinking about it. I've been itching to do some again. Probably be a metal album or prog rock or something like that, but we'll see. So back to the styles and the music and everything. I'm actually looking for requests. So anybody that listens to this, even if you're not a current user of my music, tell me what you need. In the show notes on YouTube or on socials, come back and ping me and let me know, like, hey, I can't seem to find this, because that's just the challenge accepted thing for me. At this point, I've written in dozens of styles, and I just want more and more challenges. And speaking of challenges, what challenges have you been facing as a creator? What out there is a real challenge or a real problem or something that can be solved with some music I can create? And how can I solve those problems? That's what I'm all about. I want to solve problems. We've got some interviews coming up. Next podcast is likely going to be with Tom Seymour. I talked to him recently about doing another one, doing some updates on some of the movies we're doing together. Very exciting stuff. The American Expendables movie that we have running through the film festival circuit right now has done tremendously. I've gotten 2 music awards from that, as well as 6 other wins, and I think 7 or 8 other official selections. So it's been in almost 20 different festivals, either as an official selection or a win. And it's just doing fantastic. That's coming out on Tubi very soon, I think this month. So in the podcast, I'll clear up everywhere it's going to be. But again, American Expendables, great little doc. It's about 70 minutes long. And again, you can get it on platforms where it's free to watch. And we'll have more information when Tom and I do the podcast together. I'm also going to bring back John Bartman. Haven't spoken to him since June, and he's been doing a lot of really cool stuff. Wanted to catch up with him and see how things are going with him. And I'm also extending out an invitation to you. Anybody out there that uses my music or uses music in their content and their creativity online, would you like to be part of the show? I'd love to interview you. And anybody that uses my music or uses music and has something to say about it and how it integrates into their products. So I want to start doing that more often, and I'm going to start doing interviews at the end of this year, but I'm going to make it a regular part of the program to get more people on talking about their craft, talking about their channels, what they're all about, and how music fits into the whole thing. So some exciting stuff. I had some time to reflect. Like I said, I took a very long walk today, and just kind of reflective about the politics and the political scene, as well as everything I got to do and possibly to do through the end of the year, and just kind of did kind of a sorting hat type of day where I try to figure out what's next, how I feel about certain things. Very, very, very self-positive and productive day and productive thought process. So, yeah, that's about it for this week. Just had a lot of, this literally feels like a brain dump because I'm like, oh, there's all these things I want to catch you up on. And I think I've got it. So glad to have you all a part of the community. Thanks for taking the time to listen to Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I look forward to talking to you again soon. And happy early holidays. Man, it's going to be a sprint and marathon through the end of the year. Wish me luck. I'm trying to get as far into 700 as possible. Talk to you all soon.